there changing my voice. There's people who work for the government that know that I'm right. They've conceded my point. But just like with, the police and the code of silence, they're afraid to kind of, tell the truth. They're afraid to be targeted, financial sabotage, what have you. So in this recent video that came out about 3 hours before I'm making this video here, right? By the time you see it, it'll be, after I made this video, right? One of the person's names was Grant Strickland, right? Which goes back to the Ebo landing. Okay. And he talks about how he's being shunned, or that he's afraid of being shunned after being sexually assaulted. And it's not that common for someone to say that phrase. Okay, so you have Oakland, right? The Highland Park shooting. One of these guys in one of these videos, Mark Highland, it was in the Esparto fireworks incident, I believe. If not, the Marissa case or another case I've been covering in my Marissa and Mello Buckz playlist. Where again, the word Marissa is Maria's scrambled, and Maria Mello is the name of the female who broke my heart in high school. Very significant incident in my life story. And so, we get the Mello from Mello Buckz, and it would have mellowed me out. Now, the other person's name is Nicole Callahan. Call Alpha Ham. Now, it's almost like there are different sages who are arguing. Sometimes it gets confusing here with this issue. And sometimes it seems like they agree with me. They're like, yeah, call Alpha Ham. What are you doing? Right? But I think it represents the alter ego of Zeus, right? Whether it's their group spectrum, or whether it's an individual with a split personality, or a group that channels an individual with a split personality, we get this kind of, there's a mix between jealousy and hatred, and kind of regret, and why aren't they obeying God through him? A kind of frustration there, right? The coronavirus, right? Coron A, right? Coron Alpha virus. And I was actually friends with someone named Chris Corona in grade school. Chris is like the word Christ, and he dated a female named Kristen, who I also had a crush on. Kristen Davis, right? Dave Eyes. So there's other videos that came out today. They kind of bombarded me. I still have to work on this incident. I don't take that long going through it, and I make some key connections. There's stuff that I'm not connecting, okay? But the stuff that I am connecting is clear cut, right? What are the odds of someone named Gene Deal? Right? Why would you name your kid Gene Deal? It just doesn't happen. Okay, London Breed, right? What are the odds of that? Gavin Newsom, Gay Vine Newsom. I mean, the way it comes together. And Nicole, right, Callahan. And it has to do with me being shunned, right? All these teachers are having sex with these kids while I'm shunned. This is the ideal man, Psalm 45. Not being cocky here, it's in Psalm 45. And it's something you should know already, right? The top martial artist is the ideal man. Martial arts are life paths. Who's the master at life? The master at love, right? Monotheistic martial arts, right? God is love. Zooming in on love. Zooming in on justice and righteousness and heroism and focus and, wisdom and insight and sense and so on and so forth. Discipline, determination. So some of you might ask yourself, so why don't you get this information out here? Okay, I know my videos are suppressed, and you should see my, I have a playlist, I have several of them, about when I took trips. I took trips to like 5, 6, 7 different cities. Rio Del Mar, Santa Cruz, Watsonville, Gilroy. San Jose is the 11th biggest city in America or so. And because they mess up my car, it limits how far I can go with it. So I don't really go to San Jose, and they did something funny to the road. So it messes up my car. My car is kind of messed up now for how much I do drive it. And I don't drive it that much. And they sabotaged me 10 ways from Tuesday. So the simple answer is I've tried very hard. I've written letters to law enforcement. I've approached people. I even put on camera for you to see. I say, look, this is what happens when I go out there and try to approach people. You see how they respond to me. None of them wanted to keep in touch with me, right? They all, I told several of them, they say, this is my channel's called, what have you. They say, great, and they never got back to me after that. When I talked to someone in downtown Morgan Hill, right, she said, she has to be somewhere, she's late for work. You could tell that even if she wasn't late for work, that fine female did not want to talk to a Royal African Falcon martial art hero, the top martial artist ever. Because I don't look rich. because I'm black and white. Let's face it, even people who are liberal, even people who are Hispanic, even some people who are black themselves, they don't want to talk to a handsome, righteous black man who's a stranger. Okay, you might say, well, you're tall and this, and this, and you know, you're smart and da-da-da, but they don't see it that way. And random guys, right, there's a lot of gay guys out there, and you don't want to get too many of them to fixate on it. You approach some random gay guy, hey, this is what's going on. First of all, the gay community is very adverse, generally speaking, to monotheism. They're atheists, they're agnostics, right? They're fake Christians, right? They're Satanists. They're like some of the main people targeting me. And, you know, if I went to other states, recently my little brother went on a road trip and he wanted me to go with him, but they fume his car. And that's problematic. It costs quite a little bit of money. That's problematic. Plus, I have no reason to believe that in other states, right? You know, Arizona or, you know, wherever, right? New Hampshire or Maine or whatever, Texas. I have no reason to believe that it's worthwhile going there. No reason to believe that. Not the slightest clue. When I look into these things and I look at these states and I look at the type of towns they have, you know, look, California's the most populated state. A lot of these people from those states come here. I have no reason to believe that the answer is to go on a road trip, okay, on the off chance that someone hears me out. And then what? Are you going to let me stay at their place too? I mean, you got to look at the situation. God does not expect me to pull a miracle off here. Okay? You people are the ones saying, give us Barabbas by the cultures you're in, by the hypocrisy in your religions and your philosophies, by your apathy, your indifference, your lack of care. It is very stupid to look at this situation and say, well, if I was him, I would have did. You wouldn't have done a damn thing because everyone worships the fucking devil. Okay? I've approached many people. I've made so many videos in public out loud so people can hear me. Went to Santa Cruz, dozens and dozens of people, probably well over 100 easy, heard me saying that I'm the top martial artist ever possible. Not a single one of them, other than the ones I talked to, stopped and tried to talk to me. And then, except for that one guy who was like a Jehovah's Witness. So it's stupid to say, hey, why didn't you, you know, go out there with a sign or something. Don't forget I'm fumed. If I post up somewhere with a sign, I get fumed into next week. Okay? And the police are already lightweight gunning for me. They might say, hey, you know, are you okay? Da-da-da-da-da. What's this sign about? Oh, you think you're Jesus? Like, what can I say? I'm already pushing it enough with my bumper stickers, which says, yes, I'm Christ. Don't forget that. And I handed out cards at one point. And some were about the War on Poverty plan and tiny homes. And some were about me being Christ. And it didn't bear any fruit. No one has stopped and said, hey, what does this mean? And tried to talk to me about it. And I've had bumper stickers on my car for maybe 4 years, maybe 5, probably about 4 years. Okay, and I also had one on my old car when I used to drive this. So I've on and off for like, depending on how you slice it, 5 or 6 years, the last 4 years especially. Okay, they're not hearing me because they worship the devil. And I told the government this early on through their proxies, through the people who target me. I said, why are you targeting me? These people aren't hearing me. You know? Look at all the gold diggers and racists you forged, all the cultural imperialists, all these nationals, these ethnic nationals, okay? These people from their hypocritical churches, like they are so ignorant, so stiff-necked, so stubborn, so closed-minded. Especially the people who pretend to be open-minded, okay? You've got to have heart to be open-minded. It's like the story of Osiris, Horus, and Set. Osiris was too nice for his own good, so Set killed him. And Horus, who wasn't so nice in terms of he's righteous, right? There's a difference between being righteous and nice. He defeats Set. And that story is not about a never-ending competition. No, the competition's over. Horus is the archetype of Pharaoh, the archetype of the ideal man. The true form of Horus is the true form of Christ, the Skywalker, the true form of Eri, the Son of God. It is retarded to look at this situation and ask yourselves, in this very evil society full of jocks and emos and goths and K-pops and weebles and rockers and metalheads and thugs with no higher cause who work for the government. Right? And I explained that in my Rampart series, which is part of the Marissa and Mello Buckz series. You know, that's full of cowboys and so on and so forth. People with very distinct cultures, with very distinct mentalities, who are like a dime a dozen, right? You met one, you met them all. And keep in mind, I'm 43 years old. I've talked to a lot of people on the internet. I've talked to a lot of people in person, been to malls and been to clubs, a whole lot growing up. Went out looking for people, played basketball at the park all the time. As much as I was shy to some degree, I socialized a whole lot. And I can tell you with certainty, the problem is not an inability to read people or something. I know people very well. I've been saying for years. I said, look, I know women, they don't know me. Still not a viable counter-argument yet to this day. I predicted that females would keep shunning me, and they did. Bumper stickers and all, public videos and all, approaching them on record in public with the government having reason to try to confound my prediction and all. I still predicted it. What do you call that? Because I know women, I know people. They don't know me, they don't know God. Period. They can try to change this and make it sound corny all they want, but that's the bottom line. These people are quick to cheat God and I for no reason. Like, look at the split. If every millionaire and billionaire in America gave me $1, I'd have over $22.5 million just like that. Pay some taxes, still be set for life. Okay? There's no reason in the world for them to cheat me or shun me. If every church in America tithed me $10 on average progressively a year, that'd be $3.8 million plus every year. There's no reason that they have to cheat me. And you know what I spend that money on? I wouldn't spend it on a fancy house. I'm not some super church person. I wouldn't spend it on a fancy car. I know they're changing my voice. Keep in mind they're changing my voice. Write down they're changing my voice, trying to make it sound like a hustler's or something at times. Right now I kind of sound like that. There's gunk in my throat. They're hacking my brain. They're changing my speech patterns. But the words I'm saying are acceptable enough to me, so I keep saying it. I'm still very able to look at things and analyze things. They're on some punk stuff here. They want to turn me into Darth Vader or something because I'm the Skywalker. The Skywalker, right? Like Anakin, Luke Skywalker. Horus the Skywalker, the Skywalker who's skywalking, Sky Law King, scrambled. If you think that I'm wrong, you're an idiot. Why the hell would I lie? The trajectory of this almost certainly is my video suppressed the whole time that I'm gone. You think it's a coincidence? What was it? It was I forgot to bring that up in the earlier, right? The Anderson County or something. There was another Anderson connection to it. I think it was the one with the, it's one of these 3 or 4 videos I've gone over last. Maybe it was the one with the teacher. Maybe it was the Kentucky church shooting, or the Chattanooga class reunion. Okay, where you have solid connections and all this. I can't remember off the top of my head here. I have a lot to remember with scripture and so on and so forth, and they're fuming and poisoning me and messing up my memory, short-term and long-term alike. Look, I'm not asking anybody for money, but I'm asking for justice. I've said it many times. If you rally to me and you bear witness to what's going on here, we could sue the government together. We could end gang stalking once and for all and get me fair compensation as well as other victims. Victims are being sexually harassed right now. People in cults who are being coerced. Children who are being raped. The Epstein list is not the tip of the iceberg. It never is. There's people being abused right now. You have to find that part of you that is somewhat like me. Stop listening to the devil on your shoulder, so to speak. Stop letting the devil win. It's pathetic. The devil's a punk. I am the archetype of the ideal man, not some punk-ass devil. Regardless of race, when you're evil, you're a scoundrel. I know there's some wind as a background noise at times or something. I'm just going to go ahead and keep making this. The dog is barking and got him worked up, so I'm walking over to the other end of my parents' property. You know, I've never owned a new car in my life. I've never owned my own house. I've never even owned my own apartment. I'm 43 years old. I've been shunned. And that person brought up who was molested by that teacher when he was 14. He's an actor. Okay. I'm shunned my whole life. The word shun is like the word sun. The scum shun the sun because I'm the light of the world. The S-U-N, the S-O-N. So I get treated. I've been shunned by this society my whole life. By the corporate structure, Law enforcement, to some degree, they weren't completely out to get me or something, but they contributed to the gang stalking. The females in the community, people trying to get me to settle, gays trying to prey on me, trying to work the angles to catfish me so they can brag to people in their cults. Reading the sick parody of Horus and Set with some kind of homosexual parody written in the New Kingdom or something, Middle Kingdom or something. Yeah, very sick. The Temple of Set in San Francisco is not far away. Bunch of homosexuals there. Historically. Bisexuals, what have you. Bunch of Greek societies. There are a bunch of gays. You've seen the movie 300, King Leonidas, the guy who played King Leonidas. He said that Athenians were a bunch of boy lovers. It's not a coincidence, a bunch of Greek frats in college. I'm not saying that they molest kids. I'm not saying they're not. They don't. I don't know if they do or not. It causes me to stumble on words. I don't know if they do. I do know that it's connected. Their philosophy is connected to the greater system of child molestation that is so clearly apparent in this society. Newsflash to Tucker Carlson, no offense, but there's more than just the Jews involved in the child molestation ring. It's more than just people who identify as gays openly. There's a bunch of people in cults everywhere. That's why they're not responding to me. They wouldn't be impressed. If they're not impressed by me being Jesus, they would be impressed by me being a brain surgeon's son. If they're not impressed by me being a brain surgeon's son, they would be impressed by me being the top martial artist ever possible. And if they're not impressed by that, they're impressed by me being tall, dark, and handsome, standing firm, telling the truth, and so on and so forth. So why aren't they impressed enough to the point where they don't shun me? They'd rather stab their girlfriends in the fucking back 5 times than rally to me. How would you feel? How'd you feel if the rich hired people to oppress you and your country just puts up with nonsense like the big beautiful bill, right? Big ugly bill. Tax breaks for the people who are oppressing you while they insult God with all their being. How would you feel about it? Why people are turning a blind eye to kids being raped, to corruption at all levels in society. Systemic and endemic corruption and racism and institutional racism. How would you feel about it? I'm Horus the Conqueror, Horus that made them high, and I'm Christ, the Son of God. I'm the idea that these ideas are superimposed on. Motherfuckers shunned me my whole life, persecuted me my whole life. How would you feel? I'm never ever going to sell out God Almighty. Because God is God. It's not just because I'm the top martial artist ever possible, because God is God. Why do you think you're here? God gave you a chance. And he gave you many chances, but you remained stiff-necked after many rebukes. You didn't respect God. You didn't honor God. You didn't love your neighbors. You may as well have handed the kids over to get raped yourselves. You betrayed each other. And now this is the end of the story, right? The strict land, the strike land, striking, rise king. Shocking, hawks, king. When I struck at world record speed, when I held the wind of the Spirit of God in my hands, my fists, I struck with all my heart, in complete defiance of the oppressor, and a true loyalty to God. In the absence of true romantic love with a woman, I struck at world record speed. And every day I triumph more and more onto infinity with my top martial arts challenge. They could try to make it sound corny, but you and I all know, we both know, we all know, that I'm right. There's nothing corny about it. These worms had to, sink to the level and reduce themselves and their offspring and their families, by changing my voice out of jealousy. They're like, change his voice. I don't want him to sound so righteous, so authoritative. Sound like a fucking bitch. Naturally. But they got to change my voice because they're insufficient, because they're defective, because they're defeated. They're demented. And they built their Neo-Rome, what they have cemented. They built it in extreme disgrace. They make it so when I try to rhyme, because I used to rap and I used to make poems and post them, and they altered them, made them sound stupid. Some weren't that great to begin with, but a lot of them were. Maybe about 50 or so were, maybe 40. It was up there somewhere. I don't remember what the number is. It's always more because I made it for many years. They make it so when I rap and when I make poems that they zap my brain. can't make this up. I've taken countless brain zaps, remote electroshock. I might say therapy, but it's really just sabotage. If you look at the history of electroshock therapy and the history of torture, when they used to zap people in the prison system to torture them, right here in America. These are some sick fucks. They make the Inquisition seem like, no big deal.